A piece of human-made space debris about the size of a school bus is going to slam into the far side of the moon on March 4th at about 4:26 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. In this video, I'll attempt to provide some basic information about the upcoming event, like whose space junk is it, who discovered it, where will it hit the moon, why and how often does space junk hit the moon, and who's tracking these things, and do we need to worry about it? All right, come along. The discovery was made by an amateur astronomer named Bill Gray. He runs an organization called Project Pluto, and they collect and analyze observations of near-Earth objects. It was Gray who discovered the crash course of what he first thought was a spent SpaceX upper stage. Well, Bill received an email from John Giorgiani at the Jet Propulsion Lab, and John shared his data, which suggested that the object was not, in fact, a SpaceX booster, but rather a booster from a Chinese lunar mission launched way back in 2014. Remember, Bill is an amateur astronomer, but really quite a remarkable one. In fact, he wrote the orbit tracking software that is used by a lot of amateur and professional astronomers today. Tracing these objects back in time to their launch pad involves a lot of detective work because the initial paths of these boosters can be erratic and unpredictable. They often continue to spew fuel, which affects their initial trajectory. The evidence is pretty convincing that it's actually the booster for the Chang'e 5T1 lunar mission, launched way back in 2014. It will still, however, hit the moon within a few kilometers of the predicted spot and within a few seconds of the predicted time. In fact, we've gotten more observations refining the impact point slightly. Sadly, the object will hit the far side of the moon and we won't be able to see it from Earth. The resulting crater will be only about 19 meters wide. Here's how big a 19-meter crater is. Let's pretend my head is the Earth and this ping pong ball is the moon. What happens is, every once in a while we'll launch a rocket, and an upper stage booster rocket will wind up coasting beyond the moon, back around the Earth, beyond the moon. And believe it or not, very few people are tracking this space junk, these upper booster rockets. There are lots of people tracking rocks and asteroids, but hardly anyone is tracking man-made space debris that winds up drifting out beyond the moon and around the Earth. And what happens is, eventually, sometimes one of these pieces will crash into the moon. Doesn't happen very often. In fact, this is perhaps the first time that we know of this accidentally happening. Oftentimes these objects will wind up coming back to the Earth and burning up in the atmosphere. It's pretty rare, as far as we know, for one of them to actually hit the moon. But that's what's going to happen coming up on March 4th. Should we worry about this kind of space debris? From a safety standpoint, there's no concern about this particular event. The 4-ton Chinese booster is expected to slam into the moon at nearly 6,000 miles per hour, while the moon is fairly routinely hit with larger objects moving much faster at 20 to 40,000 miles per hour. The moon has been taking this kind of abuse for some time now. The small concern would be if a piece of the junk hit the Earth. Such an impact over land would look very dramatic, like a bright, slow-moving meteor. An object this size would probably burn up in the atmosphere, but I wouldn't bet my life on it. So let's encourage all Earth-bound space agencies to, hey, keep track of and safely dispose of your space junk. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. Cheers.